Look around you right now. Every window, every building, every road you see, they all share one crucial ingredient that's disappearing faster than we can replace it. And no, it's not oil or rare earth metals. It's sand. I know what you're thinking. Sand? We have entire deserts full of it. But here's the shocking reality. We're facing a global sand crisis that's already triggering environmental disasters, fueling criminal enterprises, and threatening the foundation of modern civilization. And most people have no idea it's happening. I'm going to show you why sand has become the world's most critical resource shortage, and why the UN is calling it one of the greatest sustainability challenges of the 21st century. The scale becomes clear when you look at consumption data. Humanity consumes 50 billion tons of sand every year. That's enough concrete to rebuild Manhattan roughly 40 times over, annually. To put that in perspective, sand is now the second most consumed natural resource on Earth, right after water. We use more sand than oil, more than steel, more than any other material except the water we drink. But the consumption rate reveals a critical problem. We're using it 3 times faster than nature can replenish it. Sand forms through the weathering of rocks by rivers and glaciers over thousands of years. Nature produces about 12.6 billion tons annually. We're consuming 50 billion tons. This raises an obvious question. Aren't there massive deserts everywhere? The Sahara alone has more sand than we could ever use. The answer lies in sand quality. Desert sand is completely useless for construction. Wind erosion makes desert sand grains smooth and rounded, which means they can't lock together to form stable concrete. It's like trying to build with marbles instead of Lego blocks. The sand we need is angular and rough, the kind created by water erosion in rivers, lakes, and coastlines. This construction-grade sand is finite, and we're running out of easily accessible deposits. The environmental impacts are already devastating entire regions. In Southeast Asia's Mekong River, the longest waterway in the region, massive sand extraction is causing the delta to literally sink into the ocean. This subsidence is turning fertile farmland into salt-contaminated wasteland, destroying the livelihoods of millions of people who depend on agriculture. Entire villages are being swallowed by rising waters as the land beneath them disappears. In Sri Lanka, sand mining has reversed the flow of rivers, causing salt water to push inland. The result? Saltwater crocodiles, which normally stay in coastal areas, are now swimming up rivers toward populated areas. But it's not just Asia. In Lagos, Nigeria, workers dig sand from the seafloor by hand, destroying marine ecosystems. In Morocco, illegal sand mining has made entire beaches disappear, leaving coastal communities vulnerable to flooding. What makes this environmental crisis worse is that much of this extraction is completely unregulated. Pascal Peduzzi, a UN climate scientist, calls the governance of sand resources the elephant in the room. Unlike oil or other commodities, there's no global tracking system for sand. We're literally mining blind. As sand becomes scarce, it's attracted a dangerous new player: organized crime. The UN has documented the rise of sand mafias, criminal networks operating across countries like Cambodia, Vietnam, Kenya, and Sierra Leone. These aren't small-time operations. We're talking about sophisticated criminal enterprises that control entire supply chains, from extraction to transportation to construction sites. They operate with impunity, often with corrupt officials looking the other way. And the stakes are deadly. Environmental activists who try to expose illegal sand mining are being threatened, attacked, and killed. In India, journalists investigating sand mafias have been murdered. In other countries, entire communities are terrorized by these criminal networks. The economics are simple. As legal sand becomes more expensive and harder to find, the black market becomes more profitable. A ton of sand might cost $3 to extract illegally, but $20 to source legally. When you're talking about billions of tons, those margins create massive criminal enterprises. This isn't just an environmental issue anymore. It's a security crisis that's destabilizing entire regions. The construction industry is already feeling the squeeze. Since 2020, the price of construction sand has risen nearly $30. That might not sound like much, but when you're building skyscrapers or highways, it adds millions to project costs. China alone consumes 58% of the world's sand, fueling a construction boom that's reshaping the global economy. But as China's easily accessible sand deposits are depleted, they're increasingly turning to international sources, creating a global competition for a finite resource. And the demand is only accelerating. By 2060, sand consumption is expected to rise by 45%, driven primarily by rapid urbanization in Africa and Asia. We're looking at annual consumption of 4.6 billion tons just for construction. Meanwhile, countries are literally disappearing. Singapore has grown by 130 square kilometers through land reclamation, using sand imported from neighboring countries. But this expansion has come at a cost. Several small Indonesian islands have completely vanished, sold off grain by grain to fuel Singapore's growth. So what's the solution? The UN has laid out a roadmap, but it requires global coordination on a scale we've never seen for a commodity crisis. First, we need alternatives. Researchers are developing concrete made from recycled materials, industrial waste, and even graphene. Germany already recycles 87% of its construction waste, but most countries are nowhere near that level. Second, we need regulation. Right now, sand extraction is largely unmonitored and unregulated. We need international agreements similar to what we have for oil or minerals. Third, we need to fundamentally rethink how we build. Do we really need all those speculative construction projects? Can we design buildings that use less concrete? Can we build more sustainably? The sand crisis isn't just an environmental problem. It's a preview of what happens when we treat finite resources as infinite. And unlike oil, which we can eventually replace with renewable energy, there's no substitute for the specific properties that make sand essential to modern civilization. The clock is ticking. We're literally building our future on shifting sand, and that sand is running out faster than we can count. What do you think? Were you aware of the sand crisis before this video? Let me know in the comments, and if you want to see more investigations into the stories that aren't making headlines, make sure to subscribe and hit that notification bell.